Hey there, and welcome back to the Online Startup Summit, where you're going to discover everything you need to know about starting an online business from the ground up. I am your host, Charlie Weedle, and I'm so excited to introduce you to today's speaker and expert, Adam Lamb. Welcome to the show, Adam.
Thank you, Charlie. Appreciate you being here, me being here.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you. So I brought Adam into the summit because he is a manifesto man. He's an international best-selling author, podcaster, speaker, and relationship trainer for men, assisting them to get their balls back and reconnect to their authentic masculine power. He hosts a daily Facebook Live called The Masculine Minute, as well as a weekly live video show called The Morning Manifesto on YouTube. His podcast, Manifesto Radio, is available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and Stitcher. Adam's published works include Getting Comfortable with Being Uncomfortable, Profanity and Its Proper Use, and An Initiated Man, finally. His newest work, Circle Jerk, Lessons of Manhood My Father Never Taught Me, is due out in spring 2020. So awesome. I would love, Adam, if you could tell these awesome people a little bit of background about yourself when you first decided you wanted to start an online business.
Yeah, and when you're just repeating, when you're giving me the introduction, listening to everything, I'm like, oh my God, that's so much stuff. Like, how does anybody keep track of all that? And by the way, I wanted to say, you lucky bastard, because I've been looking for my hair and now I know where it ended up. You've got it all.
Yeah.
Wow.
I took it all.
So I was a chef for 30 years. You know, I think I was always kind of entrepreneurial. I loved to write. So I was always writing for, back in the day, it was the free weekly that went around for, restaurant workers and bartenders and waitresses. And so in 2005, I started a consulting company. Ostensibly, it was to help one client. I had worked for this guy before. He had been voted out of his company. He wanted to recreate his success in a new company. And so I assisted him by writing all the financial performance that he needed to go to Las Vegas to the real estate show, which he ended up getting a deal. And then I came on as a full-time employee. But I kept the business because I realized that there were people in the industry that were always looking for help. Now, unfortunately, the people most in need of consulting in the restaurant world are very often those who are not asking for it. They think they know it all. They don't really want to entertain anybody else's opinion about what they need to do. So I found that market was kind of limiting. So a little bit later in my career, the thing that really started to make me, sit up and take notice was a lot of the very famous and a lot of infamous chef suicides. So I realized that there was something going on with the health and wellness of not only culinary professionals, but the industry wide. And so that became my primary focus. So I started writing a lot about it. I appeared at 3 different conferences speaking specifically on that. And so I pivoted my focus to not only speaking anywhere I possibly could about this, to actively coaching culinary professionals. And again, chefs, and I'm one of them, we probably all admit that we're a bit stubborn. Again, we're kind of set in our ways and don't really want to know about stuff like online training, webinars, stuff that is completely alien to a lot of people in the industry, basically because they just don't have time to consume that kind of content. So again, it was kind of a limiting field for me, and I just kind of kept pivoting. And what I ended up coming back to was this idea that my mess was my message. And so my story of transformation and freedom that I now enjoy was born out of a lot of pain, a lot of anguish, a lot of mistakes that I made along the way. So I wanted to speak to the men out there as a way to assist them in starting their own journey. Women are so ready to take on their transformation. They're the ones that'll spend the money on the books and the workshops and stuff. And men just, what I came to realize was a story for me and a story a lot of the guys that I met is that we are so good at putting up with pain. Our pain threshold is so high that we're comfortable with that. Like the evil we know is so much better than the evil that we don't know. And so conversely, it would be like, you could have a much better life. No, man, I'm cool the way it is. Introduce any more change into it and the whole thing falls apart. Now that was my initial instance. And I realized, and this is probably the very first point, Charlie, that I wanted to share was because I was new to the industry, I didn't know much about podcasts, webinars, writing books, how you build a website, how you promote. I didn't know anything. So there were a couple of source experts that I went to. Amy Porterfield is one that has really great podcasts and really actionable stuff. But I basically just dove in and made a lot of mistakes. I think you and I were talking about this prior to the recording. It's like, yeah, man, we just get in there and get dirty, and then eventually we kind of figure out the way. But I realized that that's not a very effective way to do it. So, so this whole idea about what my why was, like, why am I actually doing what I'm doing, formulated what my how would be. And because I tried a bunch of different things, newsletters, this, that, trying to push myself out there, I realized that because I was new to the industry, I was trying to promote myself as a source expert. So there was a lot of pushing involved, a lot of pushing content out because I have to be seen as a source expert, or how do you get established in the niche market that you're in? The true breakthrough came for me is when I stopped pushing and I just became really comfortable with who I was as a human being and what there was for me to offer. Again, my message is my message. Charlie, nobody can do you better than you. And thank God for you. And nobody can actually do Adam Lamb. So what is it that I can bring that'll be of service and of value to other people? And also come from a position where I am just offering, I am telling a story, and hopefully that story inspires you to take action. And to do that consistently has been the turnaround for my business. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And I just did this incredible leadership training over the past couple months, and I'm actually still in it. And it really, once you realize that mindset is such a huge part of your business and your life, like it just changes everything for you. And yeah, I would love to dive deeper into that. Because my mindset is, the thing that'll make or break you when it comes to a business. And, what would you say is, to someone who's just starting out, what would you tell them around mindset?
I would say that number one, you have to have a lot of curiosity.
Okay.
So how do you continue to stoke curiosity? So when I'm having a bad day and I'm looking at my checking account and there hasn't been any sales, and I look at, how many clicks I got on a particular piece of content or whatnot, it's very easy to kind of go back to that, well, gosh, I should try to do something else. Now, I got to tell you, just 3 months ago, again, it was like a cycle for me where it was kind of a dip. And I was asking my wife, because she's also owned her own transformational business for the last 20 years. And so she likes to assist me. And sometimes I'm not very receptive of her assisting. I've never known anybody who took 20 years to build a company and then said, hey, come and play with me. So that's a huge gift to me. But on the same point, I felt very strongly that I needed to have my own mission, my own thing to do. And maybe that's my failing as a man, because we're all about, getting things done. And this business is not necessarily about getting things done. I mean, yes, have a goal, have your social media calendar, have a structure and a process around your business. But if I undertook it as another thing to do right, then I would end up just screwing it up, because all my efforts would be coming out of the fruit of the poison tree, so to speak, to use a legalese term. So.
Yeah. When you were saying get it done, and yeah, I mean, I hear you. Get it done is better than making it perfect or having it be absolutely right, because I'm a perfectionist. I do branding and web design. Like, to me, everything is all about how it looks and it has to be perfect. And I totally struggle with posting online because, well, is that picture good enough? Or am I saying the right words? Or, and then I just get overwhelmed with it all, and then I just don't post, and it's like, get it done is better than getting it perfect.
I couldn't agree more. And that is my absolute best advice for writing. And hopefully we can get into that a little bit later. Last year, the book Initiated Man finally became a #1 bestseller in the United States and in Canada. And there was a whole army of people to assist the process that I built around it. Again, kind of culling from experts. But the point I wanted to make was 3 months ago, I was at this point emotionally where I said, I don't feel like I have a lot of mastery around what I'm doing presently. And wouldn't it be nice to go back and do something that I had some mastery around because it's comfortable that way? And so I played around with the idea of just going back and getting a chef's job. And I even, moved energy around looking at want ads and, submitting my resumes. And there wasn't anything that was really happening, which was great because along that journey, I realized that no, me being uncomfortable, me not knowing is okay. It's just another thing to do. It doesn't mean that I'm not good enough or that, I shouldn't be doing this. It's just the next thing to do. So for me to drop that kind of emotional attachment to the outcome was huge. And then I said, okay, well, I'm going to dive back into where I'm at. And sure as sugar, the next day the phone's ringing and I got somebody who's trying to hire me for a consulting job in the restaurant industry. But that's the universe. That's the universe playing with me. Like, okay, Adam, how sure are you that this is what you want to do? Yeah. So that idea, that mindset about resilience is so important. And if I can, every morning when I wake up, I usually wake up around 4:30. First thing I do is spend the first 45 minutes in silence doing some meditation. And in that moment, I try to connect with two things. Number one, the gifts that I have to give, and what's my why? Mm-hmm. Because if I can commit to those two things, or really get what those two things are, then it doesn't really matter what happens during the day, because then I can pretty much navigate it grounded in my mission of being in service to others and making a great living at it as well. So that gift that I am to others came out of a workshop that I did where they asked a whole bunch of questions. And one of the questions they asked was, what were some of the things that you wanted as a child, but either didn't get or didn't get enough of? And we went through the entire process, and you go through all this stuff, and then they say, and that question that we asked, so what we'd like to offer you is that even though you felt like these were the things that you didn't get enough of, we'd like to flip the script on this and say that those are the gifts that you get to give. So then everybody got up and they walked around and they actually gave those gifts out to other people. I trust you. I love you. For me, it was about, and I'm looking at the sign over my desk because I look at it every day, is compassion, understanding, empathy, encouragement, mentorship, accountability, good humor, and a belief in me, meaning that I believe in you, Charlie. I believe in this. That's why I'm here. I think that you're doing a really kick-ass job, and I couldn't be more thrilled for your journey of discovery moving forward.
Thank you. Yeah, it is definitely a journey, that's for sure. And one of those, I love that you wrote a book about being uncomfortable. And I think that is such an important topic. I mean, I know for me, I've always stayed small in my life because I was afraid of going into those uncomfortable places of, is someone going to judge me, or what will I look like? Am I going to get, bad feedback on this, or haters, even just having haters. And it's like, actually, that's good. That means you're doing good in the world. And yeah, I mean, being uncomfortable is the only place you're going to grow. And
I struggled a lot in my career. So being a chef is incredibly competitive. And so when you're at the top when you're the apex predator in this environment, the only place to look at is other apex predators. So at conferences and newspapers and competitions, you see these guys who are really amazing that do stuff clearly that you cannot. Like molecular gastronomy, I'm sorry, I don't have a tank of nitrogen hanging out in my kitchen. It's just not my food focus. But I can certainly appreciate the artistry involved in that, because there's always got to be a Picasso that helps push the outside of the envelope. But again, to come back to this thing that's like, that's not me, and I don't have to be that, is very, very powerful thing. So this idea of being comfortable even when you're uncomfortable is an aspect that any aspiring business owner is going to go through. Now, there's some best practices that we can talk about, and I'm sure some of your other guests have really gotten some really great actionable items. And for me, the mindset is the most important thing. And that's why that first 45 minutes in the day is so important to me. As a matter of fact, after another training that I went to very recently in San Diego at a program called Money and You, shameless plug there, sorry, was this idea that during my meditation, I went into my calendar after I went through that program, went into my calendar and changed the word. Now it's not my meditation practice, it's actually my essence adjustment. So realizing that each of us are actually putting out a wavelength to everybody we meet. And so this goes, if you're making food, if you're making a video, if you're writing a book, if you're writing sales copy, there is an energy that is pouring through you that is made manifest by your hands and your words and your deeds. And how you're being is more important than what you're being. So this idea that every morning I get to open up the lens of my heart, almost like an old camera, where the shutter opens wide, how much I can have that pour through me or let my soul shine through me is to the extent that not only do I experience joy in my day, but the people that I connect with get that I'm an authentic human being. Because first off, I'm taking care of myself. I'm making sure that there's enough self-nurture in my day. Number two, that I am genuinely enjoy to be in service to someone else other than, oh my God, here's another person I have to help. And, I certainly need the money anyway. Right. So it's almost like it's a complete turnaround, especially coming from the restaurant industry. It's almost like a Zen finger trap. Once you get it in there, how you're supposed to get it out. Like if I can only relax where I'm at, then everything will flow to me. But look at everything I have to do. How the hell do I relax?
Yeah, it's all about being. It's all about focusing on how you're being, and as opposed to all of the things you have to do. It's been a huge shift for me in my business recently. So jumping back on your morning meditation, do you just listen, you just have silence, or do you listen to meditations? Or
I'm a big fan of Dr. Joe Dispenza. So I have a bunch of audios that I've downloaded from him. He's sneaky because when you read his books, and he's probably one of the only guys out there that has done deep scientific research around meditation and brain scans and everything. But if you read his books, it's pretty straightforward and there's some really compelling information, but the real juice is going to one of his weekend workshops. And there's something that he does not put in any of his books, and it's the idea around you have to change your energy in your body prior to dissolving into the quantum field during meditation. And that's this idea of doing a fire breath. And I'm not going to demonstrate or talk about it, but it's a way in which you can do this through breath work as well, where it's a way of, to put it clinically, what happens is you create pressure within your brain case so that the micron size crystals in the inside of your pineal gland crash together and cause a piezoelectric gate to open up that connects you to the quantum field. And then once you're in the quantum field, then you can focus on an outcome that you want, because you're not attached to any particular thing and it's just playing. So it's part quantum mechanics, it's part spirituality, but it's this idea that, I can experience within my body and my mind joy without having any outside influence. Like I can actually choose and be 100% responsible for my experience in this moment without anything showing up to validate that, which is incredibly powerful because I spent most of my time being in reaction to. So this whole idea about being unconditional about my choice and my way of being in this moment was kind of elusive for me until I started doing this meditation. Now I recorded some meditations as well that are available on the website, but Dr. Joe Dispenza is kind of always the one, my go-to. So it assists me to do guided imagery because I can kind of like lose myself in that. But for some other folks, no. And I have the Insight timer on my phone, so meditation is never far from me.
That's great. Yeah. That's great. Yeah, definitely. I think finding your inner peace is so important to being a high performer. And if you're planning to be an entrepreneur or having an online business, like you have to be performing high. So.
Yeah, and you have to be able to keep your energy high, and that may mean taking a nap at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It could mean different things to different people. Tony Robbins has got that little jumping jack stand, or that little trampoline that he uses all the time, because that's the way that he gets his energy up. And for me, as I've gotten better and better at my own self-care, which again is not something that's taught to culinary professionals or men at all. The better I've gotten at that is to the extent that my business is opened up, because again, I don't have that manic energy of trying to prove to you that you should really, you know, buy my product or hire me as whatever that crap is. It's like, hey, this is just a conversation between two people whose hearts are open to one another. And, you know, at the end, there's an offer, and it doesn't necessarily have to. And another thing to remember, especially as aspiring entrepreneurs, is you're always selling for tomorrow. So whether or not you're in the grocery store or in the Uber car, you know, your way of being with those folks is always seeding the future for you, not only from a business standpoint, but also emotionally and spiritually. So to be able to reconnect with somebody, oh, I remember I met you, like, yeah, I was wondering, you know, if I could, you know, talk to you about a discovery call. So the idea that you're always selling the future, selling for the future, allows you to be absolutely present in the moment, because you realize that this is an opportunity to connect with somebody and to assist them. And like, will I get this opportunity again? I don't know. Does that mean that I have to do this right away and fix their life? No.
Right.
Because one of the biggest things that I've learned is if nobody's asking, don't offer. You know, if nobody's asking for coaching, don't coach them. You know, and if you're in a relationship, please don't coach the other person without at least asking their permission. This whole idea about consent is enormous, is really enormous. Like being able to get someone's consent before you do their thing. And some people become so, for me, it was like, no, because I can do it does not necessarily mean that I always should.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally.
So, you know, the whole object is longevity in this game. You know, nobody's going to be getting into an online business because it does take money and it does take times, and your time does have a value. You know, I'd be interested to ask everybody in the crowd, like, do you know what your hour is worth? You know, what would you charge somebody for this hour? Is just a question I want to put out there, because for me, it came down to $175 an hour. That's just the equivalent value of what you can get. And once you're there, then for me, it was no longer questioning of my worth about what I had to offer. It's like, no, if I can put a number to it, then yeah, it does mean something.
Yeah. Thank you for that. That's a really great thing for everyone to really consider. How much is their hour worth? Yeah, it's so important. What made the biggest shift for you in regards to mindset for your business?
For my business,
or for your life, I suppose. But
well, yeah, because you're showing up in one area the same way you would show up somewhere else. Is absolutely
exactly.
correct. I think when I went from that idea that that I didn't have to push anymore was really powerful for me, because I like to work, and so I have no problem sitting. And my wife as well. You know, her office is next to mine, but our doors could be closed for 6-8 hours a day, and we see each other at dinner, and it's like, well, how was your day, dear? Well, how was your day? So this idea of not having to prove myself was very, very powerful. Like the Masculine Minute that I do on Facebook, if you look at some of the very first ones, there was always an offer involved, and you know, there was a methodology. Now, I love scripting. You know, I've helped some people build some big YouTube channels, and assisted in other ways as far as the video content is exactly. But you know, this whole idea of just sharing a story in 60 seconds is really powerful. And what I found is, as soon as I made that shift, I had people actually messaging me through Facebook going, you know what, Adam, I've been watching, and I think it's time for me to be the best man that I possibly could. Can we chat about that? I was like, wow. I mean, nobody ever went to the link or called on the phone when I was trying to push, because I thought I had to get somewhere. And so the thing that I would like to offer is there is no scarcity. And I know that that's kind of like an earth-shattering paradigm, but there is no scarcity. There's no scarcity in time. There's no scarcity in resources. There's no scarcity in intelligence and creativity. There's no scarcity in any of it. Now, we might have issues with the systems. You know, we already produce enough food in the world, so do we have a food production problem? No, but we do have a distribution problem. So to be able to look compassionately but neutrally at a situation, saying, okay, so what's going on here that I can either affect some change, or at least go to the person who can affect that change and assist them. But this other idea of like no scarcity around time, oh my God, was just a huge relief to me, because earlier in my career, I thought that I needed to be an A-tier chef by the time I was 35. Now, I made a lot of stupid decisions, and my family suffered, and my relationship suffered, because I was constantly on the charge to do this. You know, whether it's, you know, to be an A-tier chef, or to make $10,000 a month, or to sign up 30 people in your program, these mind games that we play with ourselves can actually blow up in our face, because what are we sacrificing along the way? And I mean that generally, not specific to a program or an event or anything, but just being able to relax into that one moment and relax into myself and what my offer was. It's just like, oh my God, like my offer is as simple as, you know, using my life as an invitation to be in communion with you. That's it. Like, I want my heart so open that it's an opportunity for us to connect authentically with one another. And the only way that I can ever ask anybody else to be vulnerable and transparent is for me to actually model that first. And so I'll take that on, no problem, because I actually want more people in my world of similar mindset. Now, I love a good argument as well, so they don't have to be like-minded. But as long as their hearts are open and they're ready to, you know, correct others without invalidation, or correct themselves without invalidation, then I'm down for that. So for me, that becomes a much more generous and loving space to be. And it just so happens that it opens up all kinds of opportunities in the quantum field for things to be brought in, because now you're in an energetic alignment with the universe.
Yeah, that's great.
I know that was a mouthful, so.
No, I followed you. I followed you totally 100%. Yeah, that's great. It's really great stuff there. Before we run out of time,
yes.
What powerful tool could you provide right now that would get these awesome viewers started on the path to creating an awesome,
I know that
online business?
Time is in essence, but as you're starting out, you may not necessarily have the resources to build a team, or even to hire somebody on Fiverr or Upfront or whatever. But the one thing you can do is go on to the internet and sign up for Tom's Planner. And that's tomsplanner.com. And what it is, it's a Gantt chart. So you'd be able to put in, say, the top line is launching a program in 60 days. And then you can put underneath that each element that's necessary in order to make that outcome happen. And you can also put it in a calendar space so that you know that, today I should be doing my copy if I'm going to do this on time. And there's some great tutorials out there on how to use Tom's Planner. We used it to start out before we went to a much more robust project management system. But Tom's Planner is great. You can use it for weddings, you know, personal projects as well as professional projects, especially when it comes to books. So the one thing that I wanted to offer today, Charlie, which I've never, ever, ever shared with anybody else, nobody, is a template and a process around how you can successfully self-publish your own book. This has taken me over 4 years to kind of cull and get together, and it's a replicable thing. The only question is how many people can you get to share your social media is the difference between just launching your book and launching it successfully. Now, that's not to say that you can just rest and say, okay, I published my book, cool. No, it's a consistent effort to go through there. But so it's an Excel spreadsheet that's available, so you can actually download it. You can take a look at the first page, which is not only the resources that you need, and then the second page there's, or I'm sorry, on the bottom portion of that first page, there's a list in order of everything you need to do in order to successfully launch your self-published book. And then there's a couple other pages. One is which the second page is confirmed launch partners. So very often everybody puts the effort into writing the book and editing the book, and then they forget about, well, how am I going to launch it? And when you self-publish, what you need to do is you need to go out there and find people who you can actually communicate with that are either friends or acquaintances or business prospects that are willing to actually share your social media, share their experience about the book. So that's what we call launch partners. And the third page, the launch partners are actually driven by the third page, which is your Dream 100. So the instruction for that is to list out your Dream 100 people that you want on your launch team, and it can be as big as Gary Vaynerchuk and Tom Robbins to your next door neighbor. And then you just work down that list and you send emails. And the idea is that you never ask you never ask for sex on a first date, meaning that what you're about is creating a relationship with these people. Now, it may be that down the road, there's an opportunity to tell them, hey, listen, how can I assist you? Or give them an offer, listen, would you mind assisting me with my book launch? Da, 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 da. But you always dig the well before you need to drink. And that's really, really important for entrepreneurs who are just starting out on the way. It is all and ever about relationships. Business is only about relationships. So the better you can at being able to have a relationship with yourself is the extent to which you'll be able to offer that to everybody else. And now you've got a committed team of fans out there, fans and or associates out there who are like thrilled that you got something new coming out because they want to get the word about you out. So I'm really excited about that gift. And if anybody ever needs any specific coaching around a particular, whether it's a podcast or a book, I am more than always happy to help for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Adam. His website is adammlamb.com, and you can get his free gift by clicking the link below here. And I'm so going to check that out because I've always had an idea about publishing a book and doing that, but I kind of get lost with the whole process. So I know that's going to help me.
Charlie, I would be more than happy to assist you, man. I'd be so tickled to see your name on a publication up on Amazon and and have it get that star that says, #1 bestseller. There's not a better feeling than that in the world.
Definitely.
And it also assists your authority out in the field as well. So for an entrepreneur or anyone going out, writing a book is a great way because it's not making money on the book, but it leads you to podcasts, it leads you to interviews, it leads you to conferences. I always have fresh copies in the back because, after I get off here, I'm going to be sending you a package, Charlie, or there's folks who come, it just comes in so handy. And again, your mess is your message. So don't overreach, niche down, figure out who your avatar is, and then speak to that avatar.
Yeah, that could be a whole other interview.
I know, but I wanted to get that in before we close.
Yes, I'm glad you did. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. So much valuable information. Yes, thank you.
Thanks,
Well, thanks again, Adam, for joining me today and for providing our viewers with some incredible, awesome tools and advice for their online business. And for all of you watching, please come back again tomorrow for another powerful interview with an equally powerful online business expert. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow.